Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Today's video is part 53 in the Coverjet series, also known as Slither. Now in the last few videos, I have been working on getting paint on the car in effect. Part of that was doing body work on the sail panel and the A-pillars and trying to get the filler taken care of in those areas, and it turned out really nice. The next part of that was getting epoxy on the main part of the car. I managed to get it on the doors and the top of the hood. Now, I'm not even close to getting everything ready. I still have the fenders to take care of, the valance panels, the quarter extensions, the headlight buckets, the rock guard, all that stuff has to be addressed. But I'm very happy to have the epoxy on the main body, and I'm going to show you some of that in just a minute. Now, the next step in the process, what I feel I'm going to do is lightly sand the epoxy. I want to make sure that there's no dust or debris or anything that is piled up on that epoxy. So I'm going to go over that and try to knock it down to make sure it's all good and smooth. I'll wipe it down again, and then I'm going to spray high build primer on top of the epoxy. That's the normal procedure for doing this. Other people may use other products. I know some people use etching, like self-etch type of paint. I've always been taught to use epoxy, so that's what I've used. So again, I'm going to do a little more work on that part of the car, get everything smooth, and then spray the high build. I'll probably do the same thing at the minimum to the doors, and I may try to get the hood done as well. The hood has one little dent that I'll show you that I need to address, and then it'll be pretty much ready for high build. So let's take a look at all that stuff. Since we're here and the hood is right in front of me, I'm going to show you right there is the dent. Very shallow, but it's right there. Okay, so that's probably the only dent left on this thing. I did do the body work up here previously. Pretty happy with how that looks. The peak even turned out really nice. So a lot of that is just involves following the contour that's already there. So when I'm sanding something like this, I tend to follow this shape until it makes the peak. And then I come across this way, and then I'll look down the center of the vehicle or the center of the hood and see where that line is going. So sometimes you may have to sand a little more this way, which will walk the peak one direction or the other as you sand it down. So that's the main thing I have to do is this. And that'll just be a shallow repair. I should say right there. That'll be a shallow repair. Filler, sand, and then this is ready for high build on the top. The bottom, I still have to strip it. I have not touched any of that yet, so I'm not ready for that part of it. The doors are over here. Again, those were sprayed, should be ready to go. There's a variety of things left. You know, here's the fenders. There's the rear valance. There's the cowl panel that goes above or behind the hood. So there's the rock guard. You know, there's still a lot to do to the car to get it ready. You know, for all those pieces to be ready. Now, this thing turned out really nice. There's going to be overspray when you do this. So if you run your hand across this, you can feel some texture, of course, but you'll also see some dust. And that is just from settling of material from the air. The transitions here, I know last time I filmed this, the camera didn't want to focus because there was not enough color variation, I guess. But this turned out really nice. Very happy with that. Everywhere else seems to be just fine. You know, of course, it is on new panels. Now, another thing I'm going to have to do is seam seal. So I have done the seam sealer on the inside when I sprayed the red epoxy. I really didn't do much on the outside. So I have this area here that has to be done with seam sealer. I'm going to come around this edge all the way up here. I'll do this overlap, this area, of course this area. I don't know that I want to put any in here yet. I may. I don't know if these cars, I don't think they actually had seam sealer there, but I may just go ahead and do that just to try to keep it watertight, let's say. And then the other areas I will have to seam seal are the front edge of the quarter where it meets the B pillar. I've already done it down here. but it needs to have it along this edge. I think when I look at this part right here, this kind of bugs me. This thing is it's a weird piece. You know, when Ford designed this piece, it's welded on up here, and then there's a screw down here in this corner. And this is really not even, not completely attached. So what I may end up doing is putting seam sealer inside of this channel to make that more watertight. You know, the boomerang sits in here, and it even has a bit of a gap, but it's just the way they're made. Even the original cars had these kind of gaps. So I also am going to apply the rain gutter sealer. You know, that's a two-part, I think it's a two-part mix, and you want to get that in there and make sure that this is watertight as well. So there's still a lot to do in the details department of getting this ready overall. But I think I'll try to take care of, well, for one, lightly sanding anything that's bad on this, and go over the whole thing really just to take out any of the texture from the overspray. Seam seal the rain gutter, and then this will be ready for high build. I did manage to get the deck lid sprayed, both top and bottom, and also the front side and back side of the rear valance panel. So let me show you what the plan is right now on the rest of the car. I should also mention that I sprayed the inside of both doors. When I initially sprayed it, when they were flipped over, I didn't get good coverage up in these areas and inside and where this opening is right here. So all that is gone over and now is in epoxy. Now with the car, one thing I wanted to do was go over the epoxy that was basically on the top of the car. And the reason for that is you can get some overspray and you'll end up with just a little bit of texture. Is it going to hurt anything? Probably not. But I wanted to just make sure there wasn't any debris or anything that was going to have any kind of buildup. So I went over the top of the car, and I went over the top of the quarters, and then I used Scotch-Brite just to go over the sides and everywhere else. Again, I didn't have to do that, but I just wanted to make sure by going over all that I can find any flaws or any problems that I may have. Now, the next step, I've got this 3M Fast and Firm seam sealer, and this product is a one-part automotive seam sealer designed for use on exterior auto body seams which have been properly prepared with primer or paint. Applying to bare metal will not provide adequate corrosion protection. So the way this is designed is you can obviously apply it directly to primered areas, and then this can be top coated, from my understanding, later on. That's the intent of it anyway. I don't see where it says that specifically, just, you know, different warnings and stuff. Lightly scuff area, clean the surface, cut nozzle tip, place in caulking gun, and then apply desired bead with tool to final appearance. If necessary is complete, disengage, blah, blah, blah. And then wait 30 minutes when applying a 1/4 inch bead before applying paint over the sealer. So there it is. Now, the areas that I need to address is right here. I need to take care of that overlap. I may add some seam sealer just on this edge of this, where the 1/4 overlaps the inner structure. Sorry, where the 1/4 overlaps the inner structure. I may add some right here just to finish off this area as well. And then I'm going to add some in here. I want to take care of this seam and make sure that this is all flush. Now the upper section I'll be using the self-leveling seam sealer. I will also apply some right here at the 1/4 seam, and as I come back to this area, I think I'm going to make sure I've got some down in this corner, and I'll probably go ahead and do some on this overlap down into this area, over here on this overlap, around here, all the way around the 1/4 to the tail panel. So I'll probably add some here where this sheet metal overlaps. So any kind of seam that's going to be exposed to the weather, I'll go ahead and put some on there. Everything else has already been covered. And again, I will fill this area right here to make sure this is filled. Now, I did test fit the boomerangs, and there is a slight gap under here, which is not uncommon. So I may end up using a softer sealer later on whenever that gets installed, or if I install those. There's really no alternative there. You can't build this up with this stuff and shape it, and you're going to want something that's going to be kind of soft. So there's going to be something that has to go underneath there. I think I read where people also will put a sealant around these openings when they install the boomerang so that it doesn't get water inside. So I wanted to show you what I was doing with the car, but I noticed right outside my door, there's a little turtle. He must have been seeking high ground from all the rain that we had, so good for him. All right. So what I've done, because I am putting seam sealer at the deck filler panel, I put some tape here and on that side as well, just trying to keep it from getting too far out. You want it to be nice and smooth at the end. I've also done that down here where the quarter meets the rocker panel. So again, I'll try to keep that as smooth as possible. These other areas, not quite so critical. I'm not going to tape any of that. That'll just get pressed in, probably with my finger, and then same way all up here, do the same thing. I apologize if I'm not getting the camera in a good spot. It's kind of hard to sometimes get it right whenever you can't see what it's filming. I start recording with my phone, having it in a preview, and I can only kind of do so much to try to make it where it's going to look right, but I'm going to try. I kind of like the way that looks better with that more filled in. Now, see if I can't make a mess of this, right? Tape is your friend when it comes time to do this. I'll just worry about getting this part first, this main section, and then the rest of it I'll do later. I just want to get it looking good right now in this spot. As long as I get that base established, then the rest will follow. My neighbor's dog doing his job. You can see the struggle with this. This stuff is very smooth. Making a mess. I'm not going to keep filming. I'm going to show you what it looks like after I've done some some adjustments. The plan at this point is to get the high build on the car. I had considered putting in the rain gutter self-leveling material, but I don't want to push it because I'm running out of time based on the window. It's not going to matter if I do it before or after the high build, so that's I'm just going to go ahead and spray the car. So I did go around and hit the seams, any seams that were exposed. There's a flange here, obviously a flange there, so I went ahead and redid those, sealed up the quarters. I did do this short section right here of the rain gutter because there was no way that self-leveling stuff was going to stay in there. One of my bigger concerns is there's actually a flange in here, and I don't know how to make that self-leveling stuff stay. So I may have to come up with something else to take care of that overlap. I did all around these areas as I specified before, and everything is sealed up. It should be ready to go at this point. The inside of the doors, and I say inside, I mean the inside area, not in the inside. I went over that with Scotch-Brite as well. I will flip these over, hit them again, and then I will be ready to spray the primer on top of all this. It's always a stressful thing to try to get everything coordinated and make it go smoothly. So let me show you the primer that I'm going to be using. Now this is what Charles had provided. NCP 271 corrosion resistant primer, and it mixes 3:1, or you can do 3 to 1/2 to 1 with a reducer. And I looked this up. This can be sprayed as a high build, and it uses this as the hardener or catalyst. So here is the data sheet, NCP 270 or 271, wash, sand, the bare metal, it says. Exposed metal should be spot primed with a suitable bare metal primer. So that's the epoxy that I already put on. Reclean, two-step metal treatment is the use of wash primer coating will improve the adhesion. A two-step metal treatment of each etch primer is required over sanded, clean, galvanized steel. So it gives you those kind of parameters there. Breaks it down at the mix ratio. And let me go back up here a second. Oh, there it is. So that's the top page. Isocyanate free, excellent corrosion resistance, high build, and easy sanding. Excellent gloss holdout. So it can be used as high build, and those are just the specs of it. Talking about the gun setup, 1.3 to 1.6 tip. So I have a 1.4 that I will be using. Coats, it says 2 to 4 wet coats, and the dry film build ratios there. Air to dry sand 1 to 2 hours, between coats 5 to 10 minutes, and it gives all these other parameters. Dry to top coat 30 minutes at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and then sanding, it says grade wet 400 to 600, grade dry 320 to 500. So that's all the information I have on that. So I will be mixing this up, and I may or may not use reducer. I don't know just yet. I may add a little bit of reducer, but the temperature right now in the shop is about 75 degrees, so it shouldn't be an issue. I will also, well, I have the front door open right now, but I will close that down. But I will blow out the paint booth again and mix this stuff up and start spraying. Alright, I'm going to mix up the primer. Now this says 3 to 1, and I'll show you this because this is actually not a PPS cup. It's not a 3M cup. This is a Harbor Freight copy. But let me tell you, this thing is confusing as can be. You know, if you go 3 to 1, and it's like, well, there's a 1, there's a 1, there's a 1. So 3 to 1 to 1. Here's 3 to 1 to 1. Then this kind of overlaps. It's weird to get this 3, 3, 3, for 4 and, well, then who knows what. So if you want to mix it up a smaller amount, you could do a 3-part to 1-part to 1-part. Now I'm not doing 3 to 1 directly because it's 3 to 1 to 1/2, I believe, is what if I wanted to use some of this. This is a medium reducer. This is HET 1370, and I bought that straight from the PPG store. But you can also get that online, by the way. Amazon sells it. So what I'm going to do, instead of going 3 to 1 to 1 and all these different things, I am going to go 3 to 1 old school style, and I'm going to go 450 plus 150 is 600. And then I'll add just a little bit of reducer up on top. So 3 parts, 450 divided by 3 is 150 to 150 on is 600. All right. Hope that makes sense. I'm also going to put on my respirator. I did put in fresh cartridges just now. Can't be too safe with this. Oh, by the way, if anybody's interested, if you're interested, you know, we had the big hurricane and everything come through, and northeast of us, a chemical plant is on fire. So when I come out to the shop this morning, there was a smoky fog all across everywhere, and that's from that chemical plant. So, yay, even more stuff in the air. Now what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to mix this, spray it, come back in, remix this, spray that. I try to reuse these cups. I know they're disposable, but they add up. And if I can recycle and reuse these things, I will. I'm also still using this Master Pro 88 gun, 1.4 tip. Let's do some spraying, huh?
About to run out.
stiff. Woo! Well, looks a whole lot different now. That black epoxy is one thing, but the primer really makes it look different. And it shows you any of the little flaws. Like there's a little tiny spot right there where I need to fill. You know, when the black was on there, I couldn't see that. Everything looks really good. I'm very happy with, I know the camera doesn't really show it, but this is so flat and straight. And even all the seam sealer looks good. You know, got all that covered up. Nice. So at this point, I don't know, I'm going to block sand this out, but I'm going to give it some time to shrink and dry out. I don't like to do stuff real quick. And you'll see here in the middle, there's a buildup, and that's kind of like overspray. The challenge is when you're spraying this stuff, and even I started off a little too quick. I was wanting to get coverage, and I realized now I have to slow down because I want to keep a wet edge going back and forth and really lay it on there. And so that's what I ended up doing. I slowed down, but whenever I'm coming from side to side, that becomes kind of like overspray, and that'll all sand out, but you can see the texture in there. At this point, what I think I will probably do, because I need the room in the front of the paint booth here, I think I'll put the tires and wheels back on the back of the car, leave the paper where it's at, not worried about that, and just get it down on the tires and wheels and roll it back, because that'll give me about 3 feet more space in the front that I can use to get other stuff in place. So I've also sprayed the doors, and it's turned out nice. I'm very happy with that, but there's still a lot more to do, and I have to get the other pieces in here. I want to get the hood, the deck lid, and get those also in high build. I don't know if I'll be able to get that done today yet, or maybe tomorrow, we'll see. But for now, I think I'm just gonna, like I said, put it up back on the tires and wheels and just push it back and get it out of the way a little bit so I have more space up front. So I did some rearranging. I did put the wheels back on the main car and just rolled it back so I could take advantage of the space ahead of the car. And I prepped the rear valance and the deck lid, and I have done both sides. So everything is primed on both sides. The hood, the top is primed, but I have, still have to do the bottom, and things are looking really good on this thing. Now, what I would probably do is let this sit a couple days or a few days and end up flipping the hood over and work on stripping the bottom and try to make sure all that's taken care of. I don't have to worry about the deck lid or the rear valance anymore. I still need to consider what I'm going to do with this top section. I know I mentioned it before about how it didn't quite match the quarter extensions. So this may get just a little bit of filler up here on top just to shape it, and then it'll get reprimed if that happens. Otherwise, things are looking pretty good. Now, I don't know what the next video is going to be exactly. I know I'm going to be working on the hood and the fenders and all that sort of thing, but I'm just happy to have everything in the current state that it's in. So as I said, there's still a lot to do. I'm going to work on all the other pieces, the fenders, the extensions, the rock guard, the rear valance. I think I have, front valance. I think I have that piece. So all that stuff is going to have to be sanded and prepped and get ready. So there's going to be a lot of little detail stuff that has to happen with that. I don't have a blaster that I can put this stuff in. I'm not going to do all that. But I'll have to hand sand all these pieces and make sure they're ready for epoxy. But as it is, I think that's going to be it for this video. Progress has been really, really good. I want to thank you all for watching and keep things moving forward. I especially want to thank my patrons. Thank you all for sticking with me and helping me to continue to make these videos. If you're interested in becoming a patron, there are links in the description below. And also there will be a link for the paint gun that I used, and any other Amazon links are going to be down below as well, or any other products that I've demonstrated. So take a look at those if you're interested. But that'll be it for this video, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.